Well, hello there, everyone. You have right here talking about, for the Jaycee Lee Dugard right here, talking about for kindergarten, 1985. And I'm sure that most of us, who have read that, the book of talk about Jaycee Dugard is still alive right here. But you're also talking about, that, knowing about, how many of us can remember, some of the memories, from kindergarten, if it's about the source of education and maybe about that, that would have been about, 4 years before that, the life, before she was kidnapped. But I went and put together right here is some Photoshop work right here. This right here will be, so the sketch right here that I put together right here with the pen drawing. So it's, that looking at this and, it looks like maybe Jaycee Dugard, on the beach, like walking around, maybe on the beach or something like that. You can kind of see, her hair kind of just waving around. And so, yeah, it looks like, maybe something like on one of those, cartoon TV shows or something, from back in the 1980s. But you see right here is I went and put together right here is this picture right here. And I know that based on in the book, though, that, talking about, I'm like, yeah, that images that collected from the memoir. And I was also wondering, too, that how come that some of those pictures are in black and white, compared to in color. So it's like, yeah, if it goes by, say, the copyright, say, of the book about which images that you want to use. But talk about for kindergarten. And, how many of us can remember maybe our first year of kindergarten and knowing about what we learned, from kindergarten? And like I wanted to what our autograph, what our signatures look like from back in kindergarten. So you're just like that, trying not to experiment. You're doing some Photoshop work. You have right here for JC, and then have right here's the initial right here. But also that if you're going to be working on something, it could be like a portrait or something like that. A portrait. With this portrait, though, that portrait that you're working on, and likely thinking is to where that you go ahead and work on a portrait, and let's just say that if this portrait was maybe related to like a few friends, like it was like an activity to where that draw a portrait of like doing a lot of coloring from back in the kindergarten, and you're just like thinking as to where that if you were to be painting a portrait, and maybe it could be maybe during English course, it could have been during English class that they ask you to picture yourself maybe on the beach, or maybe doing something in the outdoors. Maybe if you got tree house or something like that. I'm like, anybody will learn to wear that. Yeah. Besides the pinecone charm, it's like a top out the tree house or something. But like English courses, that how many of us can remember that learning about the pronouns and then the sentence fragments and all those sorts of English courses that we may have learned? And I guess that would have been about maybe the first grade, whenever you were first and second grade, whenever you learned about the basics about English, English literature. I'm like, yeah, a source of English, writing skills. But you have right here, if I talk about for Jaycee Dugard and the work that I put together right here is like with her in kindergarten. And so let's just say that, if a little girl were to be what you call, that, maybe walking home from the school bus or something like that, and then, somebody offered, if it could be maybe a necklace, jewelry item, or maybe something that you may have found on the ground or something like that, or something that you were working on. And let's just say if somebody walks up to you and so I say that, well, where'd you get that, or where'd you find that? So you're going to have somebody that may walk up to you and maybe offer you $100, just for something. So how many times has that really happened to us, to where that somebody finds something, and then they're like they're likely says to her, oh, okay, well, how much do you want for it? And you're also wondering too is that with $100 right here, with the $100 that somebody offers to buy something from you, and likely say that while you're working on something, that you're also wondering too that the first question could go by is that really, I'm like, why would somebody want to buy something when it's considered to be, yeah, that, yeah, pay, sometimes though that it seems like to where it goes by somebody's, you're willing, somebody's wanting you to pay them to get something from you that's based on, from your property, your stuff, your personal stuff, even that you're going to maybe have somebody that's going to want you to pay them, just to get that, get you your information, but let's just say if it was the other way around to where somebody wanted to offer you some money on something that you kept thinking about, well, it's not for sale, but can we really talk to our children about that necessarily? Our children, tell them about if somebody walks up to you and they offer you money just because that they asked to have something, or marketing solutions. And I know that, like, based on Jaycee Dugard, though, that if anybody were to say that whenever you're younger, maybe you don't know any better whenever you're younger. But still, though, that talk about for kindergarten, though, that, our first year of kindergarten, that, how many of us have maybe seen, the first time that maybe we seen $100 bill and you're 1 or 2, about how many candy bars can you really buy with that, with the American, $100 right here. And so it's like, say, is to where if you be going maybe to Egypt, but as I have right here is like, for in her book right here, like, talk about, for the, freedom the first, but you have right here, I've talked about for the, kindergarten, though, that, how many of us would still have our, kindergarten picture, and that knowing about that, that goes by as to where, that, you are so beautiful, you may have heard that before about, since you were born and since you were about 8 or 9 years old, and kind of looking back at the good memories from whenever you started preschool, whenever you started kindergarten. And, think about, the amount of attention that you get too. But still, though, that whenever you're in school, and it could maybe be, homeschool also, or just like maybe a private school, a public school also, any school that you're going to be going to, that maybe you're going to be, talking to kids, that you don't really know. So it's like, that, talking to strangers. And I know that, you've heard that before a number of times, Tor, whenever you talk to people that you don't know, including strangers. And, I guess if anybody asks, is it the same thing as a shadow? Well, the shadow is basically reflection. It's like that's visible for, so much of the light, so much of the light shining from one side, and so far as, with the lighting source, but I put in that shadow right there just to kind of show, because I know whenever I do my freehand drawings that I usually include a shadow just to make it a little bit more realistic. But talk about over here of like with the picture though. So if anybody say that why would anybody that this right here I could probably say too, especially if it's going to be in color. I'm like, how many of us have come up to that situation to where somebody wants to buy something from you just because it's in color? Just because it's in color. Just because it's in color, that's one of the reasons why, people, somebody's offering to buy it, or, or if they want to lease it or rent it. But I could probably say too is that going by for what we call, for the legal matter, and then so far as copywriting though. But the way I think about too is that it seems like it kind of all starts by as to where that whenever you buy the book, and then you kind of get some good ideas about some pictures about for what that Jaycee was talking about during her earlier life, and then growing up, and then before her life, but before she was kidnapped, and so just think about just putting together like sources of artwork right here. But I also want to talk about is like for young Jaycee Dugard, whenever she started kindergarten, that whenever you're going to be starting kindergarten, that it's possible that you're going to have it to where that you don't just get on the school bus and get off the school bus. And quite a few kids nowadays, it seems like that quite a few of them, do they walk home alone half the time, or did they off the school bus? Did they walk home, or if they had to have somebody walk with them? But nowadays, it seems like if you're going to be living in a safe neighborhood, though, that you're going to maybe have somebody that's going to keep an eye on the situation. And yeah, back whenever I was young, that there was somebody on the school bus that would get off the school bus just to make sure that the kid got home safely. So it's like, yeah, that between being kidnapped after getting off the school bus and being kidnapped getting on the school bus, what this situation will be kidnapped, whenever you're trying to get on the school bus, but then if the situation could have been as to where that the child was kidnapped after they got off the school bus. So it's like, say this, to where that if you had plenty of time to try to stop the situation about from the kidnappers, but it goes by, say, for Jaycee Dugard's story, though, that but talk about since starting kindergarten, as to where it seems like that putting this together right here, and I just want to show everybody here that this work right here because I know that I'm like, that looking at that a little bit at the face right there, if anybody were to say that well, that don't really look too much like Jaycee Dugard right there, because Jaycee Dugard, I'm like, yeah. But let's just say that if we're going to be working on something, and then likely thinking as to where that the memories from what you can remember are ever since kindergarten, and playing the activities that you did whenever you were in kindergarten, the things that you did with your classmates. So it's just like, that the fun activities that you did whenever you were in school, and you're also wondering too is that whenever you're going to be meeting up with somebody, and I could be like total strangers, but still though that looking back at the memories, and sometimes you kind of wonder too as to where do you still have some of those treasure memories. Any memories from whenever you were in kindergarten, if you were able to keep a lot of those pictures. And so it's like, that, like I say, a stolen life does not mean that everything was stolen, but, on the other hand, that there's knowing about what we were able to keep, since the year that we were born, and then from when we started kindergarten. So how many of us could maybe think as to where that they're going to be looking back, since they were in kindergarten, since since a kid started kindergarten, and knowing about what their autograph looked like back then. The autograph looked like this, I say, but I put right there is the year of 1985 right there. And then for JC, it's like for the first name and then for the initials. So whenever we see that, the JY, it might say it for like, not New Jersey, but, for JC. But anyway, I thought, everybody would like to see this right here, some of this work right here I'm talking about, for kindergarten. And I know that, use purple right there for purple pajamas. And this picture right here, that if I can remember in the book, that the picture was taken at about right here, but then of course I added in a little bit right there of the legs and feet right there. But talking about, for like Jaycee Dugard, though, that this picture right here, she would have only been about maybe 2 years old. So I guess, only, how tall, maybe about, 3'4", something like that. Maybe, 4 foot is how tall she would have been. And so just putting this together and just kind of getting some ideas about, that back whenever Jaycee was much younger, and knowing about is toward it before she started kindergarten. And you're likely think is toward looking at that picture, and you're likely were toward it, trying to, rebuild. It's like so far as, from the stolen life, and so far as, so far as the healing process goes, as to where that what you're able to recover, so far as looking back, from your kindergarten years. But I put this right here for 1985 because I kept thinking too that, maybe because I know me that I started kindergarten, back in it was 1987, something like that, whenever I started kindergarten. But still that it's like from the year that, whenever you start kindergarten, and just think it is to her that, whenever you're going to be starting kindergarten, it's possible that you're going to be meeting people, and some of those people are going to be, strangers, but some of them are going to walk up and ask you questions, and sometimes it's like, you just got to watch, how you react and how you talk to those people, because if you don't know them, and it's possible that, yeah, ways of how to tell that if somebody is, is an offender, or that, if they are what you call this person, this convict criminal, a criminal, or anybody that could be taking advantage of a little girl or a little boy. So it's like ways of how to protect yourselves and our privacy. But anyway, but there are talk about right here. I talk about for Jaycee Dugard, and yeah, that if you're going to be working on the coloring, and yeah, that come up with the situation to where somebody wants to look at something that you're working on, and sometimes it seems like that, why does this person even want to look at what you're working on? But so it seems like that, yeah, that you could be outside, maybe working on your garden. You could be working on your garden, and somebody walks up to you and asks to see something or wants to buy something, and you're like, any vegetables that you got growing in your garden, and like to buy. I'm like, yeah. How many of us have come to that situation to where that somebody offered to buy some tomatoes from your garden? Some tomatoes or carrots. I'm like, yeah. Carrots, vegetables from your garden, and you're likely weren't to where what's this all about? Yeah, if you got any maybe any neighbors, but still that somebody offers to buy something from you, and sometimes it comes to the situation to where that how will we know to where that if they're really wanting to buy it from you, or if they're just exactly that they're just trying to think of a trick, way of how to get something that they want, but then just kind of, evade your privacy of some sort, or just try and do something else. But that something else could be dangerous too. But anyway, the ways of how to keep our children safe and how to protect ourselves, but still that knowing about the, with today's technology nowadays, it seems like it's safe for how much protection, but you have right here for talk about for kindergarten, because I know back, whenever I was in kindergarten, a number of things, but there's still that looking back at the picture, though, that if anybody or say that you look back at that picture, and you're just kind of like one or two is toward the things that you still have and still can remember, and the friends that maybe Jaycee knew, from South Lake Tahoe, and you're likely say is that. Looking back at some of these memories, and you're likely thinking, to you look back at them, and maybe you kind of laugh, and knowing about, did I say that, or did I do that? But really, that how many of us can maybe ask the question toward why is there a shadow in the background right there, and maybe a tree, or maybe a butterfly or some sort, or a heart? Did somebody make that shirt for you, or that somebody will ask you, why are you still in your pajamas? It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Why are you still in your pajamas, especially on the weekends? But, anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. And talk about for Jaycee Dugard, said Jaycee Lee Dugard, kindergarten, 1985. And thanks for watching, and have a great day.